Hi, your time is more valuable now than ever before. With all the things coming at us 24/7, you have to be critical with where you spend your time. So, why would you want to spend time on one more podcast? Well, I'm hopeful that you can spend some time with me as we look at how we can make your leadership more effective, simpler, and easier so it's more rewarding for you and all the people you work with. Welcome to the Leadership Edit. So I want to welcome you and thank you so much for joining me and spending some time with me today as we talk about the Leadership Edit, right? And I thought we would start by thinking about where this all came from. Why this podcast? Why am I doing this? Why might this be helpful for you? So to begin, we have to go all the way back to like 2000. Yeah, I know, 25 years ago, when I was working in an organization and I was helping leaders with a leadership program, helping emerging leaders. And I started doing some research on communication. And I came upon the story about the canary in the coal mine. And if you're not familiar, the canary in the coal mine is based on a true story of coal miners who would be down in deep down underground, and there could be a chance that they would lose oxygen. And so what they came up with was the idea of having a canary in a cage in the coal mine. And if there was a loss of oxygen, if maybe it was starting to cave in or there was some issue concerning breathability, the canary would start to struggle. And then they would know that it was their sign to get up out of the cave and to save themselves, right? So I started thinking about that. And that brings me to how I got started with this. Early in my career, I was running a leadership program with another person, and she was wonderful, and we were helping to develop leaders. And so the CEO wanted this program. He was very supportive, and what we came up with was the idea of the emerging leaders that would come together for one full year. And they would go to classes together on certain content that we felt we needed to improve on from our employee engagement scores. And then at the end, they would come together, these teams, have a reunion. And at the reunion, they would say what they learned from the classes and what their advice would be to the organization about how to make it better. It was by far one of the best programs I've ever been a part of designing, and it was incredibly successful, except for one thing. When I would bring the leaders together, these managers together, 30 managers together in a room, and they'd be there for the reunion, I'd say, this is so exciting. You're going to get a chance in a couple weeks to have the whole executive team sit in front of you and hear your story, and you get to tell them what you think we can improve on. This is really a great time. And they would just look at me with this blank, quiet stare. Very quiet. No responses. And finally, I got a couple people on the break to say, tell me what's going on? Why is everyone being so quiet? And they said, we're just not sure that the executives really want to listen to us, or that they really want to hear the truth, or that there won't be repercussions for the truth. And so it was in that time that I realized there was a real disconnect. And there was also a real risk, because here this was this CEO who really did want to hear, and his executive team who always showed up and they were very dedicated. And yet this leadership team, these managers, really didn't feel like that was their truth, that they would be listened to, that there would be repercussions for being honest. And that's a risk to the business. And it was a risk to the CEO. And I thought to myself, boy, they could really use a canary in a coal mine. They could use an advocate who could help them to examine their leadership, figure out what's working, figure out what's not working, be better leaders so that they can be more approachable. And that was when I decided to become an executive coach. It was during that time that I was like, this is what I need to do. And then over the years, I would do leadership training. I would work with senior leaders. I would speak to large audiences and try to help impart some of these best practices. And it was really great to be upstream, to be able to work directly with executives and CEOs and help them improve their leadership. It had a cascading effect with other managers, leaders, and employees. It was super rewarding, and it still is. But then I started thinking, gosh, what if I could help more people more regularly to think about some of these skills, to really work on what I call your leadership practice, which is, there's accounting practices, there's law practices. Well, this is your leadership practice. This is how you show up. It's how you act every day. It's what people say when you're not in the room. It's your brand, right? It's how you lead. And what if I could create a space where we could talk real candidly and openly about the things we need to do as leaders that work and the things we do that really don't serve us well? So that's how the leadership edit came to be. And I'm just so glad that you're here with me today, and that you'll hopefully join me throughout time as we spend weekly time together. The hope is that what you can expect from this podcast is that we can really do improve that leadership practice that you all have by thinking about three things, right? What's the most important thing we can be doing? What's the most impactful thing we can be doing? And what can be done by only us? There are some things that are just unique to us as leaders. Like, for example, hosting a one-on-one with your direct report. That's something that only you can do. So we want to look at the things that really matter, edit out the clutter that doesn't help us to focus and feel good about how we lead, as well as make sure that our people feel good about how we lead, because that's why we're doing this, right? It's easy to be an individual contributor. Well, sometimes, but being a leader and a manager and an executive is not easy work. So it's only rewarding if we really are making a difference with those who are trusting us to be their leaders. So we're going to look at those three questions, and then we're going to get some experts in here, some guests with some real-time expertise and some advice. And we're going to make sure that we leave our time together with action that you can take. So something very meaty, gritty, small, whatever it might be. But in essence, each week to be able to leave kind of with the edit at the end, which is, one thing that you can cut, shift, or sharpen so that you can make sure you really are a strong leader and that you're just continuing to be aware of how your leadership practice can improve, right? So I'm keeping it short and sweet this time. Don't plan on that being the case every time, but that's the gift I'm giving, is just to make sure that we can get started, take it one step at a time, and really make a difference for yourselves and for the people that you serve. So for this week, the edit at the end of our podcast is to think about the one thing you can cut, shift, or sharpen to ensure that your leadership practice is growing. So for this week, the challenge is to have a sharpen. And what we're going to do is just ask us to truly observe when others are quiet. So when you're in a room, when you're in a meeting, when you're on a Zoom call or a video call, when people aren't speaking up, there's usually a reason, right? Is it just like with these managers? Are they not feeling safe? Are they not feeling listened to? Are they not feeling like their opinion will matter or there's repercussions for speaking up? As leaders, we really need to hone in on that and just be aware. And in our next few weeks, we'll talk about what you can do to try to help take down some of those guards so people will open up and really will help to not only share with you what their thoughts are, but also this is where creativity and innovation come into organizations. And we're going to spend a lot of time on how we can make sure that's an important part of your culture as a leader. So make sure you tune in next week. And for now, remember, less clutter, more leadership. I'll see you next week on the Leadership Edit.